Hi, my name is Katie. I'm a structured literacy dyslexia specialist. Welcome to today's PD and Pieces. We're going to be discussing the changing rule today, which is one of the 3 great spelling rules for adding suffixes. So let's get right to it. So what is the changing rule? This is a rule that applies to words that end with the letter Y. And when the letter before the Y is a consonant and you're adding a suffix, what you have to do is change the Y to an I. Let's take a look at some example words. For example, this word cry, it's a word that ends with a Y, and the letter that comes before it is a consonant. So what do we do before we add on our suffix? We have to change the Y to an I and spell it C-R-I-E-D. Let's take a look at another word, busy, and we want to add the suffix est to create the word busiest. Okay, this is a base word that ends with a Y, and what's the letter that comes right before it? It's a consonant. So before we add on our suffix est, we have to change the Y to an I. It's rewritten and spelled as B-U-S-I-E-S-T. Let's take a look at another example. Our word is study, and we want to add the suffix es. Okay, this is a base word that ends with a Y. There is a consonant that comes right before that Y. And so what do we have to do before we add on our suffix is we have to change the Y to an I, and it's rewritten as studies, studies. There's a few more things that you need to know about the changing rule. First of all, if the letter before the Y is a vowel, we do not change the Y. We simply add on the suffix. So for example, in the word play, it's a base word that ends with a Y, but look at the letter that comes before. We have the vowel letter A. And so because it's not a consonant that comes before the Y, it's a vowel, we simply add on the suffix. So in this case, we have play plus suffix ed. It is rewritten as P-L-A-Y-E-D. No changing is necessary. Another thing to note is that if the suffix begins with the letter I, we don't change the Y to an I. So for example, the most common suffix where our suffix starts with the letter I is ing, I-N-G. Okay, and so whenever we add this suffix or any other suffix that starts with an I, we do not change the Y to an I. So we simply add on the suffix, and this is because you can't have 2 I's in English, okay? You are never going to have 2 I's next to each other. And so that prevents that from happening. So simply if we look at this word cry, we have a word, yes, it ends with a Y and there's a consonant before that Y. So typically when adding a suffix, we would change the Y to an I, but because this suffix starts with an I, we do not do anything. So these are just really important caveats that you need to know about the changing rule. So let's try this out with a few words. I'm going to give you some base words and some suffixes, and you're going to see whether or not we need to change the Y to an I before adding our suffix. So our first word is try plus suffix es. We want to create the word tries. So do I need to change the Y to an I? Yes, right? This is a base word that ends with a Y. There's a consonant right before the Y. And so before adding our suffix, we just change the Y to an I. Let's look at another word. This word is decay, and we want to make the word decayed. So we're adding on the suffix ed. Do I need to change the Y to an I? No. In this case, again, look right before the letter Y. What do you notice? We see a vowel letter A. Okay, so because it is not a consonant, we are not changing it. We simply add on the suffix ed and we keep the Y as is. Let's look at another word. Funny. Here's our base word that ends with a Y, and I want to add on the suffix er to make the word funnier. Do I need to change the Y to an I? If you said yes, you are correct. Okay, so it is rewritten as F-U-N-N-I-E-R. And again, the base word ends with a Y. There's a consonant right before it. So we change the Y and then add on the suffix. We'll do one more. The base word is apply, and we're adding on the suffix ing. We want to create the word applying. Do we change the Y to an I? We do not. And why is that? It is because the suffix starts with an I. Remember, any suffix that starts with an I, we are not changing the Y to an I in the base word. We simply keep it and just attach on that vowel suffix that starts with an I. Great job. There is one more changing rule that you need to be aware of, and this is a separate changing rule. It's not quite as common, it only applies to a few words, but I want to include it here just so you know it. Okay, for base words that end not with a Y, but end with an IE, words like pie or die or lie or tie, there's very few of them. What you need to do is you need to change the IE to a Y when adding suffix ing. So this is just a quick little lesson that you can teach to your students. You can use these common words like die. Well, when we have this base word that ends with an IE, we have to switch it to the or change it to a Y and then add on our suffix ing, like dying. Same thing with lie plus suffix ing. What's our word? Lying, Lying. That IE changes to a Y. One more example, if we have the word tie and we want to add that suffix ing, tying, we have to change the IE to a Y before adding on that suffix ing. So that's another smaller rule. It's not considered maybe one of the 3 great suffix spelling rules. It's not quite as common because there aren't a lot of English words that end in IE, but it's one to be familiar with. So thank you for joining me today. Please come back soon and to learn more about big literacy concepts that hopefully break it down for you and help you to understand them. Thanks.